So first one, let's dive into the what to buy segment ng ating discussion. So first, meron tayong tinatawag na top-down approach kapag gusto nating malaman or gusto nating mag-narrow down kung ano yung stocks yung mga magagandang bilhin during any time. No? So for example, if we are using the top-down approach, ang gusto natin munang tignan is the economy. So bago tayo mag-invest sa stocks, titingnan muna natin kung yung economy kung lalago ba yung economy or are the interest rates low enough, no, to introduce or to induce investments sa ating mga corporates, no. And basically ang pinakamadaling solution para masagot natin kung maganda ba yung economy or gaganda ba yung economy in the future is to read news and to look at economic forecasts. No? So for example, every morning, magbabasa tayo ng news sa internet instead of going through Facebook or social media. Pwede tayong mag-visit, for example, sa Business World or Inquirer or Fieldstar to check ano yung mga latest developments and news regarding sa Philippine economy. So, for example, na-determine natin na magiging maganda ang ating economy based sa ating mga research or pagbabasa natin ng mga news regarding the economy. Pupunta na tayo ngayon sa industries. So, nalaman na natin na maganda economy, ano yung industries na lalago? Ano yung industries na maganda? Ano yung industries na kikita during these times? So, ano yung industries na merong or maraming profitable opportunities during this time. And kapag nakapili na tayong industry, titingnan na natin kung sino yung mga market leaders in that industry. For example, napili natin si telco industry, sino yung mga leaders doon? So si Globe, si Tel, and si Converge, for example. No? So sa tatlong yun, mamimili tayo kung sino-sino sa kanila or kung sino doon sa kanila yung pinakamaganda at pinakamurang bilhin. So, top-down approach, kung makikita nyo sa graph, it's an inverted triangle kasi ang broadest picture natin is the economy down to the industry and the company. So, parang filter siya, no? Kung mapapansin nyo sa graph. So, first of all, ano nga ba yung industry? Ano yung ibig sabihin ng industry? So, basically, these are a group of companies engaged in the same business. No? For example, banking stocks si Metrobank, BDO, BPI. So, pasok sila lahat sa banking industries kasi ang business nila is to lend and to take deposits from customers. For example, Ayala Land or Mega World. So, these companies, pasok sila sa property industry. And in order for us to make guided decisions sa ating investments, kailangan nating malaman kung paano ba how an industry works, no? Ano yung factors na nakaka-affect sa industry na yun, and what are, of course, the profitable opportunities in that industry, and who are the main players in that sector. So, for example, we want to do a quick industry analysis, for example. The first one we want to know kasi is how does the industry work. So dito, ang tatanungin natin sa sarili natin is what are the sources and drivers of revenues. So for example, telco industry. So paano ba nag-work in telco industry? So ang sources nila ng revenues is through subscription fees, yung mga tao naglo-load. So yun yung kita nila or yun yung revenues nila, kung saan nanggagaling yung revenues nila. And drivers, of course, kung gaano kadalas or how often customers subscribe to their load promos, for example. Or in the case of internet broadband, kung gaano sila or monthly, magkano yung binabayad nila for internet services. So second question na gusto nating tanongin sa sarili natin is, ano yung factors that drive the industry? So the very basic but the most important, of course, is the supply and demand. So for example, telco industry, okay ba yung demand sa internet? Okay ba yung demand sa mobile data services? So alam naman natin, no, during these times, work from home and very dependent tayo sa internet. So, walang question kung maganda ba yung demand kasi talagang maganda yung demand for telco services. And also one driver of an industry, of course, is regulations, no? The intervention of the government. So we'll dive into that later on. So the third question naman na gusto natin sagutin is, of course, will the industry be profitable? So titingnan natin ngayon yung mga market trends and opportunities. Again, sa telco industry, the trend is home broadband. So nakita natin kung gaano kalakas si Converge ngayon, no? In terms of stock price at saka yung ano niya, yung subscriber base, gaano kabilis lumaki yung subscriber base niya. Kasi ang trend ngayon is again, yung mga tao is in need of internet services, no? Kaya talagang maganda ang demand sa telco industries. And of course, after you answer those questions, titingnan naman natin ngayon kung sino yung mga main players. Importante ito kasi mamaya kapag nag-select na, kailangan nating mag-stock picking. No? So, makakatulong to sa ating stock picking later on kapag nakapag-determine na tayo ng mga magagandang industries. So, just a quick example of an industry analysis. This is just a very basic, simple, and short industry analysis. No? For example, example natin si restaurant industry. So first, ano ba yung sources and drivers of revenues ni restaurants? No? Number one, sources of revenues niya, of course, selling food through dine-in or delivery options. So si Jollibee, kumikita siya, of course, sa pagbibenta ng mga pagkain, ng mga meals, chicken joy, spaghetti, etc. sa kanilang mga restaurants. No? Or they can also sell through deliveries. And the drivers, of course, is the number of food or meals sold in a period of time. And number two, ano ba yung supply and demand condition ng restaurant industry? So supply, basically, ito yung mga number of restaurants in one place. For example, Makati. And demand, of course, gusto nating malaman kung lalakas ba yung demand in the future or hindi. Or lalakas ba kasi ganito, ganyan, or lalakas ba or hihina ba kasi maraming Filipino na nawala ng work during these times. No? But the expectation for the restaurant industry is that the demand this year, 2021, is expected to increase kasi si government is easing lockdowns, meaning hindi na masyadong mahigpit compared sa lockdowns that we experienced last March or April. No? So third, ano yung market trends and opportunities sa restaurant industry? Of course, number one trend ngayon is online delivery kasi yung mga tao hindi makalabas or yung iba, kaya naman nila makalabas pero natatakot silang lumabas kasi baka mahawa or magkaroon sila ng COVID-19 or one trend also is the food on the go. So, yung mga tao ayaw nila masyadong matagal sa labas. So, gusto nila yung mga food on the go, ready to eat food. So, those are trends, no, sa restaurant industry. And what's the opportunity naman sa restaurant industry is that Filipinos prioritize food in their daily spend amid the pandemic. So, according sa report ng BSP or sa report ng government natin, Filipino consumers daw ay prioritizing food sa kanilang gastos sa pang-araw-araw. Instead of buying gadgets, instead of buying luxury items, pina-prioritize nila yung essentials, which is one of them is food. No? So that's a very good opportunity for the restaurant industry. So number four, sino pa yung market leader sa restaurant industry natin ngayon? No? Number one, of course, Jollibee Foods, the biggest restaurant chain here in the Philippines. Number two is Maxis Group or Maxis. Number three is Shakey's. So kapag nagde-determine tayo ng market leaders, make sure lang na they are traded on the stock exchange. Kasi whether you say na KFC is a market leader, hindi mo naman siya mapag-i-investan since it is a private company. Okay? So after, for example, na-determine na natin kung anong magandang industries, no? industries with good prospects. Pick na tayo ngayon ng stocks. No? So, number one rule is that when picking stocks, you should know the business of the company behind it. So, investing in stocks basically means that you are investing in businesses. So, para magkaroon tayo ng guided decision in our investments, kailangan nating malaman kung paano tumatakbo yung business ng isang company or ano yung mga drivers and factors affecting it. So, sabi nga ni Warren Buffett, owning only 3 businesses that you know from the heart can make you rich. Diba? And in stock picking, very important is considering the market cap. So sa next slide, makikita natin what's the meaning of market cap. So market cap, basically ito yung value ng isang company based sa valuation ng market or the investors. No? So market cap can easily be computed, but you don't need to do that. Pwede na lang tayo pumunta sa UTrade platform or sa PSE to check ano yung mga market cap ng mga companies na gusto natin tignan. No? And this is a very good determinant of growth potential. For example, binabantayan mo si Ayala Corporation or si San Miguel Corporation. So if you see na pababa ng market cap ni Ayala Corporation or ni San Miguel, maybe that's a sign that the company's growth potential is not so good. Or kapag naman akyat ng akyat yung stock price or market cap ng isang company, for example, si Converge, it's a sign that maganda yung growth potential ng isang company. And hindi lang magandang determinant ng growth potential ang market cap, it's also a good tool for risk assessment. For example, you are a risk averse, ibig sabihin ayaw mo nung mabilisang talo. Maybe you can choose yung mga large caps. For example, yung mga malalaking businesses na in the Philippines. For example, SM or Ayala Land. Instead of choosing yung mga small cap stocks na minsan tinatawag nila basura stocks. No? Sorry sa may mga basura stocks na hawak ngayon. But again, market cap is a good determinant for or a good tool for risk assessment. And dito pumapasok yung mga small, medium, and large caps. But there are considerations for market cap. Number one is the size. Number two is the business. Number three is risk. And number four is price movement. So punta muna tayo sa size. So dito pumapasok yung small cap, mid cap, and large cap. So in the next slide, you can see here, ito yung mga small caps, ito yung mga stocks na merong market value or market capitalization below 10 billion pesos. Na. So you can see in the example, si ABA, ATN, MRC, si FA, or C. So in general, small cap stocks have a market value of below 10 billion pesos. So minsan tinatawag silang basura stocks kasi well, wala silang laman, you know. That's the very essence of calling them basura in the first place. So next is mid-cap stocks. In the next slide. So ito naman yung mga stocks na merong between 10 billion to 50 billion pesos in market cap. No? So you can see there in the graph, some example is East West Bank, Megawide, Cebu Pacific, Double Dragon, Dito, Holcim. So those are examples of mid-market cap stocks. And lastly, large cap. So ito naman yung mga pinakamalalaking stocks here in the Philippines. So ito yung mga stocks na merong above 50 billion pesos in general. So you can see there sa graph. So right now, ang pinakamalaking stock by market value or market cap is SM, followed by SMPH. So again, large caps are those stocks with above 50 billion pesos in market cap. Next is the business. Sometimes the market cap coincides with in what business cycle the company is in. So in the next slide, so one example is startup. So these are the companies na hindi pa masyadong established or nagsisimula pa lang yung business. And their main focus is to expand their network or expand their business by going through fundraising, for example, IPO. So very good example niyan, recent example is si Mary Mart, no? So nung nag-IPO siya, very few stores pa lang si Mary Mart and nagsisimula pa lang siyang as a business. And it offered shares to the public through an IPO, of course, to fund its network expansion. And target ni Mary Mart is to open 100 stores by the end of this year using the funds na nakuha niya dun sa IPO. So companies usually in the startup phase, kadalasan sila yung may mga low market cap or ito yung mga small cap stocks. Because maliit pa sila sa business and konti pa yung financial resources niya compared sa mga market leaders niya sa industry. So for example, if you compare Mary Mart with Pure Gold is a giant while Mary Mart is a startup. In terms of revenues, in terms of financial resources, in terms of number of stores. Na? Second one is the growth or ito yung mga companies na medyo established na but still has a lot of growth opportunities. No? A very good example, a recent example of this is Converge ICT Solutions or Converge. Nakakalist lang niya last year. No? So maganda naman na yung revenues ni Converge. Medyo lumalaki yung revenues niya, pati yung earnings niya. But gusto pa niya mag-expand. So marami pa siyang growth opportunities. Di ba sabi ko kanina, the telco industry is a very good industry to invest in this year. Kasi nga mataas pa rin yung demand for internet services and mobile data services. So this is a very good example of a growth company. Ang problema kay Converge, hindi niya pa natatap yung mga customers in Visayas and Mindanao region. So mostly or almost 90% of mga customers ni Converge is sa Luzon lang, dito lang sa Luzon. So sobrang dami siya pang growth opportunities sa Visayas and Mindanao. And that is a very good example of a growth company. So in terms of market cap, so yung mga growth companies usually have mid-market cap. No? So they have market value of 10 billion to 50 billion pesos. But there are times na kapag talagang maganda yung company and talagang yung mga investors maraming nakikitang growth opportunities for that company. Minsan, they are also considered large cap kasi lumagpas na sa 50 billion yung market cap nila. And lastly, there are companies that are already in the mature phase. For example, si Meralco. No? Alam naman natin si Meralco yung pinakamalaking electric distribution company here in the Philippines. So imagine they are providing power in over 36 cities and 75 municipalities dito sa Philippines, which accounts for more than 50% of the country's GDP. So companies like Meralco, ito yung sobrang laki na nila na konti na lang yung growth opportunities nila in terms of business. But usually, nare-reward nila yung shareholders nila through dividends. Di ba? Matagal naman nating alam na si Meralco is a very good dividend-paying company because sobrang laki na niya talaga and very minimal na yung growth opportunities ni Meralco. And most of the time, in relation to market cap, no, itong mga mature companies to are in the large cap segment kapag titingnan natin yung market value. So again, large caps have 50 billion and above market value. Third, we can also consider risk in relation to market cap. Remember, this is just a general graph or general statement. No? Companies with a low market cap usually have higher business risk compared to those who are bigger in terms of size. So as you can see there in the graph, the lower the market cap, the higher the business risk. Bakit nga ba ganun yung situation? Most of the time, low market cap companies kasi, of course, have a smaller business scale and konti pa yung financial resources niya. So in terms of execution ng strategic plans niya, so there's a higher risk na mag-fail. For example, si Merrimart mag-fail yung expansion niya sa Luzon, sa Visayas and Mindanao. So in effect, the market is pricing lower value in that company. That's why usually ang market cap niya is mababa. The fourth factor we can relate to market cap, of course, is the price movement. So in a small cap stock, usually is more volatile and less liquid compared to larger caps. So again, sometimes they are called basura stocks because yung movement ng stock na to is usually driven lang by news or speculations. By the way, the chart is from the UTrade platform. No? So if you haven't tried using charting tools sa UTrade platform, you can do so. It's very good and very easy to use. And in terms of liquidity, medyo mababa lang yung liquidity ng mga small cap stocks. Mainly because, again, yung galaw nitong mga stocks na to is driven mainly by news or speculations. Mid-cap stocks. So this is relatively less volatile and more liquid compared to lower caps. So sometimes they're called as second and third liners. So yan, pag narinig natin sa trading, so umakit yung mga second and third liners. So unang papasok agad sa isip natin is these are the mid-cap stocks, or ito yung mga stocks that are receiving more attention to investors, mainly because they have very good growth prospects. For example, si Double Dragon or si Dito or si Holcim and some other stocks like East West na binanggit ko kanina, or si Megawide. So in terms of stock price movement, mas less volatile siya compared sa small caps and more liquid. So mas madaling i-trade compared sa small cap stocks. And lastly, meron tayong tinatawag na large cap stocks. So again, because they are so large, they are less volatile compared to mid-market cap and small market cap stocks. And these are the names, the biggest names in the Philippine market, like Ayala Corporation, San Miguel, or SM Investments. So usually ito yung mga large cap stocks, ito yung mga index names or stocks under the PSEI. Again, like Alliance Global, Ayala Corporation, and San Miguel, for example. So after determining or considering market cap, you can now assess your risk tolerance. So again, pwede mong gamitin yung market cap as a tool for risk assessment. So for example, ayaw mo nang sobrang magalaw or ayaw mo nang sobrang bilis bumaba kasi natatakot ka ng matalo ng malaki. So maybe you can invest lang sa mga large cap or mid cap stocks, no? Lalo na kung wala kang time para bantayan yung mga investments mo or yung mga trades mo. So number one, stock picking, again, risk tolerance. Number two, return goals. So for example, return goals mo is just to have dividends, no? Okay ka lang kahit kahit steady lang yung price, basta nakaka-receive ka ng dividends every year. Maybe you can invest in large cap stocks like Meralco, PLDT, or Globe, or Aboitiz Power. And a very good one recently, yung Ayala Land REIT. No? So that's a very good consideration din kapag nag-stock picking tayo. And number three is time. Again, kung wala kang time, maybe huwag tayo mag-i-invest sa mga small cap stocks. And just to emphasize lang yung risk tolerance, no? For example, you have 100,000 pesos in capital. One way to assess your risk tolerance is through this example. For example, again, you have 100,000 and you can take a loss of, for example, 10,000 pesos per stock. Usually you have, or you are considered to have a low risk tolerance. While kung kaya mo namang matalo ng 10,000 to 30,000 pesos based sa 100,000 capital mo, maybe pasok ka sa average risk tolerance. And if you can take losses of 30,000 and above in one stock or per stock, you have a high tolerance for risk. So yeah, you can use this guide to assess kung saan ba tayo pasok in terms of risk tolerance. And you can say, ang dami namang di-discuss ni Sir. Ang dami namang di-discuss ni Sir King. Paano ba yan? Wala akong time mag-analyze or wala akong time magbasa-basa ng news sa umaga. Well, if that is the case, if this process is difficult for you, you can seek advice from us or from someone who is more knowledgeable in the stock market. So again, brokerages like us, UTrade or Unicapital Securities are a good choice. So we release research reports daily and weekly. We have a market update in technical analysis, and recently ito fundamental webinars, and nagbibigay din kami ng mga educational webinars. So if talagang nahihirapan tayo mag-analyze or gawin yung mga investment processes na to, you can seek help from us. So for example, wala ka talagang time. So ito na yung top picks namin ni Unicapital Securities. So makikita nyo dyan, bawat sector, meron kaming pick. For example, banks, Metro Bank. Sa consumer naman si Pure Gold, sa property si MEG, sa telco si PLDT, and sa power si AP. So again, if wala tayong time mag-analyze ng mga industries or the economy, you can just read our research reports para maging guided tayo sa mga magagandang investments during these times. So ayan, nagbibigay din kami ng dividend plays, or kung medyo busy ka or ang return goal mo is through dividends. So brokerages like us give these top picks for you para less hassle na in your investments. So just a quick note lang sa topics ng Unicapital Securities. On the next slide, you can see that fundamentals of businesses constantly change. So hindi araw-araw same ang fundamental values ng business. Kasi for example, today, walang pandemic. And tomorrow or next week or next month, nag-announce na si DOH na may pandemic na pala sa Philippines. Of course, yung mga fundamentals ng businesses, for example, yung property, kasi nag-operate sila ng malls, di ba? So kung walang COVID, of course, the valuation of that company is very good. Pero pag nagka-COVID, which is very bad news for businesses here in the Philippines, of course, magbabago yung value ng business na yun. Kasi may mga negative effects yung pandemic. So alam naman natin, no, nagka-lockdowns, yung mga tao hindi makapunta sa malls, etc. etc. So the best practice that I can say or that I can advise to you is to always be up to date sa mga daily business news, as well as kung talaga nahihirapan, you can just read our research reports every morning. And you can easily access this on the UTrade platform. You can just log in, go into the news section. You can click UTrade research, and there you can see yung mga technical analysis and fundamental analysis na nire-release ni Unicapital for the clients. So just a quick summary lang on the what to buy discussion natin, no? So first one is know which industries will have a favorable outlook by analyzing its drivers, supply and demand, and profitable opportunities. Next one, after natin ma-determine kung anong industries yung maganda, you can now pick stocks based on their market cap, considering your risk tolerance and your return goals. And third one is to seek advice from brokerages through their stock recommendations and written research reports.